And we are back with another episode of the From the Rafters podcast. Sam and I are here recording on Monday, December 6th, and we are joined by CelticsBlog's Andrew Doxy. Thank you for joining us today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We're pumped.
I'm pumped.
Very excited.
I got my Josh Horford Advanced Apathy merch on me. I'm ready.
He came, suited out and ready to go. And we're recording this in between games. Celtics have a little 2-game break, and the last time we saw them out there was just the the killing of the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, Payton Pritchard pouring it on in the fourth quarter, Dennis Schroder needing to be revived on the sidelines. I just want to talk about that moment because obviously a few weeks ago we got the quote came out that, oh, this Celtics team doesn't care about each other. Jason Tatum's about Jason Tatum. All they want to do is succeed. And then you see something like that on the sidelines, and it just kind of, smacks everything else in the face. You see the whole team getting hyped for Pritchard. You see Tatum talk about the headbands after the game. How much do you think this Celtics team cares, not only about winning, but about each other? And just talk about that moment. Like, how were you feeling when you saw that on the sidelines? Because I thought it was electric.
Yeah, that was the most fun I've had watching a game. I think in 2 years, since pre-bubble season. Before they went into the bubble, I think that was the most fun since maybe the Tatum stretch when we were okay, he's that guy. I don't know. I don't really put a lot of stock into reports that talk about feelings. I don't know. That's something I've kind of learned in the last couple of years. Any report that's oh, these players don't like this, or this guy really feels this way. I don't put really a lot of stock into that because I think most of the time, 99% of the time, those reports end up being false. There was all that noise about Kyrie's last season in Boston about how much they hated each other, blah 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 blah, and they, Jaylen and Kyrie don't get along, all this and that. But then you ask the players and they're like, nah, I'm cool. I'm still cool with Kyrie. None of those reports ever ended up being true. It's just the basketball product didn't come together. So with that being said, anytime I see something oh, players think that Tatum is this, or they don't even really like each other, or they barely hang out. Well, first of all, it's COVID. So, if they're not backed up, they're not allowed to hang out anyway, but I'm pretty sure most of the players are backed up by now. But just little things like that, I don't really pay attention to that anymore. I kind of just tune it out. So seeing the Pritchard exposure, the Pritchard game is one of those things where it's exactly where you were when it happened. So that was just a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun watching it. My wife, she watches some of the games with me, but she missed that game, and I showed her the highlights, and she was getting pumped over the highlights, and she's not even a huge fan.
Yeah.
So it's just fun, and more fun is welcome after the last couple of years the Celtics have had with injuries and everything. So I'll take it.
Oh, the training staff, they just play operation back there in the locker room. That's what they do. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, that's great seeing Pritchard drop in back-to-back threes, 19 points after that might be more than he's had the whole season, to be honest with you. I could be wrong, but I'd take that bet, not knowing
that might be more than he had the whole season combined.
That's what I mean.
To be honest.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Every single game, yeah. But going back to, the rumors about guys not liking each other, especially now with COVID, you really can't buy into that. Yeah, sure, guys have friends or sources that'll leak it, but media, they don't get to be around the team. They don't get to. Mike Gorman talks about it all the time on the radio. He never gets to see those guys and make relationships with them, so he can't even speak on it. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And then they say Tatum and Brown don't like each other. I just don't think there's ever been evidence of that.
Never. Not a single shred of evidence that would suggest that. In fact, they've given us so much to prove the opposite. But as soon as the Celtics lose 2 games in a row, it's wow, these guys can't stand each other. But literally 2 months ago, Jaylen was saying how he babysits Deuce, and we have the picture after Tatum won the gold medal. What more do they have to do? It gets kind of weird that it keeps getting questioned. It's don't we have anything better to do? I don't know.
It's so weird. It's so weird. And then after obviously Jaylen's been struggling since his injury. You see Tatum come out and say, we want him to be the best version of Jaylen Brown he can be, and we'll know he'll be that. And I saw people on Twitter saying, but they don't like each other, huh? Is this the truth? I don't get where these reports came from. And Brad Stevens, the day after that report comes out, he goes, if you can't put your name on a quote, then it's not a quote. It's just an anonymous assistant coach can't. It's a bunch of nothing. But it was great to see Pritchard play so well. Do you like the fact that Ime Udoka went up to Chauncey and apologized after, or do you think that was unnecessary because Pritchard was just like, I mean, we're making shots, but etiquette.
Pritchard did
Chauncey
not
complained. No.
I think Ime has to do that. I don't think whether or not he meant it. I don't know. I think he just has to do that to keep the air of professionalism. I'm sure he probably like told him something in the game like, "Hey guys, come on, we can't do that," and then just moved on. But like, I don't think anybody like got in trouble for it or whatever. I don't know.
He was laughing. You could see in the
Yeah,
pictures he's laughing. So, I mean, he was
Yeah.
all about it. He would have revived Schroder if it was his job. Someone else took responsibility. They gave him chest compressions, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, like if you look at the baseline cam, you can see Udoka's like cracking up too. But like I said, to keep the air of professionalism, I think you have to be like, yeah, I talked to Chauncey. I'm gonna really tell those guys you can't be doing that. But they probably was all cracking up in the locker room anyway. So, but I mean, I like the fact that he's trying to be professional. It did get a little crazy at the end. Like Pritchard straight up took four 3-pointers with under a minute left in a 28-point game. So it did get a little wild. But if he would have made those, I don't know.
Bananas. I mean, he's in his hometown, and I mean, Payton Pritchard just destroyed the entire Blazers organization. I mean, we see what's happening today. I'm sure you both saw the reports. Dame wants to play with Ben Simmons. Dame wants out. Dame's frustrated. The rift between Chauncey. Payton Pritchard destroyed the Portland Trailblazers, and I think that's the narrative I'm going to stick with. Do you make anything of those Dame rumors? I mean, this isn't Celtics and it's a tangent, but like, what do you think anything's going to happen now that didn't happen in the offseason? Because we've been hearing this for the past like 3 months at this point.
I don't think anything changes on Dame's part. I think if anything, the Trailblazers just like pack it up themselves and make that decision one way or another. Because again, like it goes down to a lot of those. Dame thinks this, Dame feels this, and it's like, and then he goes on Twitter himself, and it's just like, oh man, these guys just like drama too much, So if anything happens this year, it's probably the Blazers thinking we've been doing this for 10 years now and we're stuck. So let's do something dramatic. But I don't think it's gonna be like Lillard going in with the same personnel this year, a rookie coach, and then being surprised that he's 11 and 12 when he's shooting under 40% from the field, and then all of a sudden being like, I can't believe you guys would do this to me. This is ridiculous. I want out. Like, I don't know. I would like to think Lillard's a little more reasonable than that. But then again, he's still in Portland, so I don't know.
Well, I don't take the Ben Simmons thing as him wanting to leave. I take that as, if it's true, they're going to trade CJ because he's not going to Philly. I mean, Ben Simmons is leaving Philly.
Right. I don't really believe that whole I want to play with Ben Simmons thing because he like 2 weeks ago, or no, it was when the season started, he was like, yeah, I'm in here with CJ, like I want to be here and that kind of stuff. So for him to pivot after 20 games, I feel like it's more of an organization thinking maybe we should touch base with Philly about Simmons, and then somebody saying, oh, well, I heard Dame really wants to play with him. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't really put a lot of stock into if it's not coming out of Dame's mouth, especially him because he's active on Twitter. I don't know. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. I mean, I will say adding Ben Simmons would probably help their 30th ranked defense with a top 10 offense. Like, I mean, how many years can it be the same story? It's the same thing every single year. You have the talent. You're just a bottom 3 off defense in the NBA. I don't know. We can nip the Blazers talk in the butt. Something else I did wanted to bring up because I think it got overshadowed a bit with the explosion of Pritchard at the end of that game. Aaron Nesmith shot 3 or 4 from 3. A lot of people have been, begging for both of those guys to get more minutes. Do you think this changes anything, or do you think this just was them getting garbage time? Like, are you one of those people that thinks they deserve more minutes after the season last year, or do you understand Udoka's kind of mindset there?
I'm not mad at Udoka for not playing them because if the goal is to win, if we're trying to win games, you want to play the players who have played the best this year. So if I'm looking at what Josh Richardson has done in his minutes versus what Nesmith has done in his minutes, obviously, ideally, I would want Nesmith to play and develop. But if I'm trying to win games, Josh Richardson's been perfect for, the amount of money that he's making. So, of course, I'm going to play him. So that obviously, and Romeo's been playing better than Nesmith on both ends so far this year. So there's only so many minutes that go around. So I can't really be mad at him for that. Schroder, he's going to get those minutes, so it's kind of hard to find a place for Pritchard.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I don't think that Udoka's made the wrong choice at any point this year. And I also don't really think that this changes anything in as far as what the non-garbage time rotation looks like, or I don't think they did enough to leapfrog anybody, because J. Rich had a good game last night too, or against Portland too. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's been playing extremely well of late. It's very hard to justify either of those guys getting run over him. I think you might see Pritchard get sprinkled in a little bit next game just to see if he's still hot, because if he is hot, that's a huge weapon, a spark plug off the bench. But yeah, I was happy with the Neesmith minutes too. I mean, that guy always busts his ass regardless. And then when he's making threes, that's a bonus. But I love Richardson. He plays hard. Seems like he's always making good decisions when he has the ball. That's what you like to see. He could be another ball handler off the bench. That's what you need.
Yeah, and it's really, if anything, it's Romeo getting in the way of Neesmith and Josh Richardson getting in the way of Pritchard. Because if Jay Rich can handle the ball, which that's where he's been at his best, not off ball shooting, because and that just does not leave any room for Pritchard. I do agree that if anything, Pritchard might get a couple spot minutes. Like Smart only played 22 minutes against Portland, which is great because he's been playing some heavy minutes. So maybe on some nights, if he's turning the ball over a lot like he did against Portland, Pritchard can get in there and change the pace. But I don't know if the Portland game really changes the rotation. That being said, Ennis Freedom did do pretty well with some non-garbage time minutes, and now he's like a regular rotation player. So I don't know.
Crazy. That's crazy. I mean, shout out to him. He's playing well. He's playing better than I thought he would. So
I'm pretty sure everybody who knows me on Twitter knows I'm not a big Ennis guy, but I gotta admit he's hooping. He's hooping.
Exactly.
Exactly. I'll go on air and say it. He's hooping for now.
You brought up Smart, and I know you're a huge Marcus Smart fan. Both of us here too love Marcus Smart. I see you on Twitter all the time fighting Marcus Smart haters who can't seem to come to grips with the fact that he is a point guard now, and he's playing like a really good point guard now. So do you want to just talk about you want to just talk about Marcus a little bit, because he's having a great season?
Yeah, I think he's doing exactly what I expected him to do. Like, I think he's doing exactly what he's getting paid to do. He's over the last 2 weeks, he's averaging 8 assists a game. Since in the last month, since he, that Chicago meltdown, he's averaging I think 12, 4, and 6, something like that. As a third option, it's great. I don't know. That's pretty good. And there are some nights he's not even the third option. He's the fourth option when Dennis kind of comes in. So, if you're paying a point guard to average, between 6 and 8 assists, he's scoring. His shooting has ticked up over the last couple of weeks. He's a good floor general. The offense is tremendous when he's on the court, and it's not as tremendous when he's off the court. I think he has the second best net rating on the team behind Ennis Freedom. I have nothing to complain about. I think he's doing great, and he's not even in his extension yet. So I feel like there's a lot more room for him to grow into that role. And I think when people are trying to project how this team can make a leap to true contender status, I think that leap comes not at the point guard position, because I don't think that this team is at its best when you have a high usage point guard, as we saw with Kemba and Kyrie. I think you have to look somewhere else. So I have no complaints about Smart this year. When he doesn't have a deadly gastrointestinal virus, I think he's playing pretty good. So
yeah, people glossed over that like it was nothing. Like they were just like, this guy sucks, and he was out there playing through sickness.
He was puking.
He hit a big shot to send the first game to overtime, which no one wanted to talk about. That he was bad, and then like you say, over the last month, he's been a whole new guy ever since he ripped everybody. And Jack knows I was on the Kool-Aid all summer. I was saying he could be an all-star. I thought he was going to average 10 assists a game. He's getting he's improving.
He's getting there. Give it another month. We'll see.
I thought he'd be great in this role, just because we've seen over the last few seasons when he's given the opportunity to distribute, he makes these amazing passes. He has really great vision. We've seen a couple this year in particular. There was one he had to Horford on a drive where he just kind of threw it over his head and it was like an alley-oop. I mean, he is fantastic with the ball, and now he's really making great decisions too. He's taking a lot less threes. He's being more aggressive going to the basket. And Jack, the extra passes, there have been a few times where you see he's open and then someone next to him is open and he just passes it up.
Beautiful.
Yeah, honestly, he's evolved, and he's evolved as like this. Like there are definitely different stretches of what Marcus has done this year. Like we had the gastrointestinal maladies section, and then we had the shooting too many threes but starting to figure it out section, and then we got the more well-rounded, and now we have like relentless drive to the basket Marcus. Like his assists are down over the last couple of handful of games, but his scoring is up because he's just driving to the basket, and that's creating good looks for everybody, even off of misses, offensive rebound opportunities. So this team looks a lot better on offense because he's, not settling and just driving head down straight to the rim.
For sure. And I mean, it seems like the first play of every game is just a Marcus lob to Rob Williams, just behind everybody, which is great. And you hit the stats on the head. Since the Bulls game, it is around 12, 4, and 6. But since that Lakers game, which I know Sam and I usually discuss as the turning point of the offense to some degree, Marcus Smart averaging 14, 4, 6, 1.4 steals, and shooting 47% from the field and 38% from three. So, like, I don't know what people expect from the guy. I had a buddy of mine text me during the Jazz game, which, I mean, what are you going to do against a Jazz team that does that? He's like, I'm out on Marcus Smart. I'm like, how are you going to sit here and tell me?
What did he even do? Like what had happened?
I don't know.
It's very rare that you have educated fans say that they don't like Marcus Smart.
It doesn't make sense.
Of all times to say that, he played good against the Jazz too.
I was like, what are you watching? I was like, I texted him back. I'm like, have you not been watching the Celtics play for the past 2 weeks? Like, is the last time you watched like early on in the season? I don't understand the hate. And I eventually just had to be like, I guess we can agree to disagree because I don't know what you want me to say. And my argument was, if you're only looking at the shooting splits, then Jason Tatum sucks too this season. Like Al Horford sucks too this season. Like that was his whole thing. I'm like, you can't just look at the shooting splits and tell me a guy sucks. And he's like, what? That's like a huge part of the game. I'm like, yes, but it's like, so is everything else Marcus Smart does. So it doesn't make sense to me. Like, what's the most common thing you get on Twitter? Because I know you defend Marcus a lot on there, and I've seen the people come at you. So I'm curious what the most common thing you get there is.
By the way, thank you for those stats against the Lakers. That's more fuel for the agenda. I guess the thing I get the most is that he hijacks the offense and shoots too much, which does not make any sense because he has a career low usage rate this season. And his usage rate has continued to drop outside of the year when in 2018-19, Kyrie's last year when he was starting, because that was his career low in usage because he was literally just spotted up that year. But his usage rate is lower, his assist rate is higher, his assist to turnover rate is like spectacular this year. Like how if that's what hijacking the offense looks like, hey, he could do that all night. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you telling me hijacking the offense is being an unselfish player that leads the team in assists by a lot,
it doesn't turn the ball over.
It doesn't turn the ball over. Like, all right, yeah, I'll live with a couple of bad 3-point. Like, yeah, it's true. He does shoot some ill-advised 3-pointers at times. Not really in the last couple of weeks, but that's over his career. That's been his thing. But he's like grown as a player mentally to where I haven't really felt like he's hijacked the offense at any point in the last 2 years, maybe once or twice, in a regular season game. But in the Nets series, I felt like he picked his spots great against Brooklyn. He was our second best player by far against the Nets in the playoffs. Last year when Kemba was out the first part of the year, I thought he did a great job as the starting point guard, which is why I was confident in him this year. And this year, I can confidently say that he has not hijacked the offense really at any point. A couple of 3-pointers here and there. I think it's just because of how loud those misses can be is what makes people think that he's hijacking the offense. But if we're really looking at the grand scheme of things, I wouldn't consider it that. And if he has to shoot a couple more times because nobody else is shooting, I don't consider that hijacking the offense either.
Exactly.
If you have Smart, Jabari Parker, Freedom, Neesmith, and Pritchard on the floor at some point.
What a nightmare that sounds like.
That, yeah, and I feel like we've seen that at some point.
Does the whole team have COVID?
If that were to happen, I want Smart taking those shots.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want an Ennis post up. I don't know.
Oh, God.
But that's what I get the most though is that the hijacking comment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me too is, you've seen the Marcus hate grow over the last 2 years, in my opinion. And in the last 2 years, he's taken more shots because Gordon Hayward got hurt. Kemba Walker's not playing half the game. Jaylen Brown got injured. you have a guy that most people see as a third or fourth option, who is the fourth option this year because people aren't hurt. Like, I don't know what you like you just said, would you rather, Romeo take 10 shots a game or and maybe if your answer is yes, fine. I guess more power to you if you want Romeo taking those shots. But over the last 2 years, he's been the second best player on the team just in terms of, it's everything, because Jason Tatum has been the only guy who hasn't been consistently injured. So I don't know what you expect. Like, he has to step up, and he's not going to be a good volume shooter ever, but that's because he's not supposed to be, like, in the grand scheme of the Celtics offense. So that's always been our argument. Sam, you said he was going to, what'd you say he was going to average at the start of the season, though? It was something ridiculous.
I thought he could do like 14 and 10 or something like that. Like, I just thought those were like numbers that were realistic with the role he might have to play scoring wise, not knowing that Schroder was going to be this reliable for the most part. Once in a while he has a couple games where he's not great, but he's been such a great surprise too. And it sucks that they're probably not going to be able to bring him back next season, because he seems like the kind of guy that could be key to your success. He fits really well with this group.
What do you think of Schroder, Andrew?
I'm glad
I gotta ask.
Yeah. How do I say this diplomatically?
You don't. Just go.
No, because I think I've been hearing like for example, Keith and I agree. Keith Smith.
Keith is out. He is not in on Schroder. He does not like Schroder.
Right. Keith and I agree on a lot of things regarding Schroder. But all that with the caveat that if I'm getting this Schroder for $5 million, that's fine. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm trying not to be mad about it. But I do think some of the team's worst habits come when he's a high usage player. And I think a lot of that happens when Jaylen is out, because he naturally becomes the second option. But again, second option for $5 million, it's hard. It's like a balancing thing, because I feel like the ball is in his hands too many times in crunch time, when up until that point in the game, we see that when Smart and Tatum have the ball, the offense moves and flows better. But then it's like, oh, it's a 2-point game. Dennis, it's your time to shine. Like, it's like Dennis Schroder saying, it's Dennis Schroder time. And it's just like, I don't know about that. And then, so my issue with him is that for as fast as he is, the game slows down to a crawl when he's dominating the ball. And it makes no sense to me. He'll walk the dog with like 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and then he'll pick the ball up, dribble from one side of the court to the other side of the court, pound the ball, pass once, get the ball back, run a pick, and then it's 5 seconds left on the shot clock. And it's like, that's just not the way that we play when we look good. But that's the way that we play when he has the ball. Now, this being said, he played great in the Portland game because he didn't dominate the ball. And when he had the ball, he was making quick decisions, driving to the basket. And what he brings to the team is great, because that's been a weakness of Smart and the Jays, is their ability to consistently drive into the teeth of offense. And that's something that comes so naturally to Schroder. And I think that gives our offense a whole different dynamic. And maybe that's why he gets the ball so much in crunch time, because we're looking for those kind of looks, but it just never pans out that way. It ends up turning into a jump stop fade, like turnaround jumper, which so there's just like a lot. I have very mixed feelings about Schroder, but I can't be mad because of the price that we're paying for him. So
yeah.
See, I'm big on the I love that he gets to the basket. Like you mentioned, he's always getting the teeth of the defense. I almost feel like that's rubbed off on Smart. He sees how well it works for Schroder. I mean, he's picked it up, but I do agree that, it's not great if the ball is sticking in crunch time, but I feel like he's made some big shots. He's missed a couple shots. He has missed some.
Yeah.
But he had a big bucket, I believe, in the Philly game before he airballed in the next possession.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you forgetting about the one that?
But he still hit the winner. He was the winner, but he did airball the next possession, which was no good.
Right, and if it wasn't for Rob,
yes,
lose that game.
And Al,
yes.
Yeah, it's great.
And Jaylen for locking up Embiid down low. Like, we probably lose that game.
I was certain they were going to lose it. No, I would have put the house on them not getting a stop there.
I thought we were going to foul, especially when I saw Jaylen on Embiid. I was
They've loved the fouls. They've fouled so many times and at the end of games for no reason.
Yeah. So that's why I got mad at that shot by Schroder, because like the first time it went, like I was like, okay, now we cooking, and then the next time down, it was just a garbage shot. With I think we still had enough time to
and it wasn't a good possession, and there was time left, like you said.
But he had the ball in his hands the whole possession, so it's like that's kind of why, you know what I mean?
No, I understand it.
Yeah, they're not hiding it at all. Like you know what's gonna happen. Like there's no movement, there's no nothing. And I had a similar issue in, I don't know if you remember the Cleveland game where Schroder took the final shot. Like what is happening? Like I don't know what's going on.
Well, that was they were trying to get it to Tatum, but they denied him.
But then there's no backup plan. Like there's no like off-ball movement. Oh, I understand, but you're telling me in 5 seconds the best everyone could do is stand in the corner, all 4 people, while Schroder's on the other side. Like that's the part I have an issue with. I understand.
And also, I can't remember exactly the details of that particular possession, but I feel like we got the ball with more than 5 seconds left. Like I feel like the
100%.
The clock went down to that point where it's just like we're kind of waiting for something, you know? And I feel like the best teams, like if you look at Golden State in crunch time, like every team runs ISO, and I think it's a whack complaint of of fans to be like, oh, why are we only running ISO in crunch time? Every team does that, but there's so much more movement around, how they initiate those ISOs, right? It's not like Steph catches the ball with like 10 seconds left, dribbles the air out, and then just tries to create. Like they run different actions to get Steph in an ISO in a particular place that he's comfortable with and can make a play. And the Steph, KD, LeBron, like all them boys, like they all get put into these good positions. Maybe not LeBron with Frank Vogel, but you know what I mean? Like just different positions where the ISO is more intelligent. But with this team, when it turns into ISO, it's just Tatum at the top of the key. All right, what's going on next? Or Schroder at the top of the key, So that's
Does Tatum take too many threes?
No, he doesn't take enough.
You don't think so? You think he doesn't take enough?
Sam hates the threes.
I think he takes far too many threes.
I think he takes too. Nah, I really like Tatum's shot selection this year. I think he's just not making them.
It's improved.
Because if you look at his 2019-20 when he was like coming alive, he was training some really tough threes. Like that's what it was. Like he was hitting the sidestep three, step back threes, pump fake, still pulling up right one dribble pull up threes. And I remember like going into that year, we were like, imagine if Tatum, like he was taking like 4 or 5 threes a game. We were like, imagine if he took 7 or 8, like how many more points he would average. And then he did it. And then that's why he went like to a whole nother level. So I like his shot selection this year. He's just shooting like garbage, but
Yeah, I mean that never makes it look good, right? When he's shooting like way less than we expect. I feel like he takes a lot of early threes though, and it kills me. Like they always seem to come early to me. It's like a bad time. Like I feel like other teams are on a run, and he'll try and end the run by taking a quick three, and it just makes it worse. I wish they would really try and focus on going to the basket more.
I haven't paid attention to that. Like it hasn't stood out to me, but I'll look for it. But I do feel like this year compared to last year, like Tatum at the end of last year, like from March to the end of the year, was like he had the perfect shot selection. Like he was driving to the basket, getting bully ball, drop 60. Like that's the Tatum that I think of when I'm thinking like superstar Tatum. And I feel like he's trying to do that a bit this year, but it's just not falling, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well, they love Scal loves talking about Tatum's muscles, and like when he was really like playing poorly at the beginning of the year, like there would be one play a game maybe he would finish around the rim, and he would miss like the other 10 layups. And Scal would always let you know, like, look how big he is now. Like, look at those muscles. Like that's all the muscle he put on after he missed like 9 layups in a row before that. But he's figured it out. He looks much better around the rim. So good for Tatum.
Yeah, I think so. Circling back on the Schroder thing real quick, because I just wanted to, bring up something that I don't mind Schroder. I don't think he plays well with both of the Jays on the court because I think that's just too many people that need the ball in their hand. I think, in my opinion, again, this might be a hot take, I think the sooner they trade him, the better. Because right now, you're talking his trade value. No, realistically speaking.
No, it is
You're talking his trade value. Like, if Schroder starts to play bad, boom. I know he's making $5 million, but like him playing this level right now. Okay, let's calm down. Him playing this well for $5 million, probably the most tradable contract in the NBA, in my opinion, like realistically. And you have teams out there who could use him. Like I pulled up a few while you guys were talking. Like you telling me Dallas wouldn't like to grab Schroder for 5 mil. Denver with their, hospital roster wouldn't like to grab Schroder for 5 mil next to Jokic. Minnesota, who's good on defense but terrible on offense. Same thing for LA, the Clippers. I mean, not the Lakers. Any of those teams, I feel like would be more than willing to trade for Schroder. And if you're the Celtics, you can't. There's no way you re-sign Schroder after this year. There's no feasible way, in my opinion. But I think trading him at least by the deadline would be the smartest option. I understand keeping him because he's playing well and you want to maximize this team. But the way I see it is the Celtics team a championship contender this year with Schroder, or is it smarter to just get some value out because he's not going to be here next year anyways? So that's where my head's at.
I understand both sides of this debate. I don't want to both sides of this whole thing, but I understand both sides of it. I did see a tweet this morning that made me think about it from a different light. If you didn't give up much to get Schroder, is it really a loss to lose Schroder? Like if we're only paying him 5 mil for 1 year, like that's low investment, low flight risk kind of deal where it's like, okay, yeah, we lost him, but we got a good year out of him. And I also think like from all those teams that you mentioned, like, okay, they could use a Schroder for sure, but like, what do we get back? And would it be worth, losing the opportunity cost of potentially going deep this year? Because there's really only one team that bothers me in the East right now, and that's Brooklyn. Like,
really, Milwaukee doesn't bother you?
No, I'm never scared of Milwaukee. I don't care. I don't care if they won a championship.
Celtics have played Milwaukee well in recent years.
We always played
last year well. They played them really well. Like I contend if they played them in the playoffs, they would have had a good shot. I mean, they won the title.
Without Jaylen, I mean, let's be honest. Like Milwaukee, some things went well for them in the playoffs. Like if Kyrie didn't get hurt, they're not winning a championship. But that being said, they earned their championship, and they're a really great team, an elite team that would probably wipe the floor with most of the East. But I think we match up with them well on paper. And without Kemba, we have less of a defensive hole in that starting lineup against them. That being said, Kemba always played them good, like on offense, but he was obviously a defensive liability. Anyway, all that's to say is that like on paper, we played them well. I wouldn't be surprised if things went, our way in a series. If we went on one side of the bracket without Brooklyn and something crazy happens to Brooklyn, I would like our chances. Like, I'm not really scared of Chicago. I'm not really scared of any of the teams right now in that, like the East is pretty much all pretty even right now. It's Brooklyn and then the rest. And we've been far from healthy. And we've had so many like heartbreaking losses, like a season's worth of heartbreaking tight losses within the first month. You could look at like 3 of those: the Luka buzzer beater, double overtime against the Knicks, and the Jazz game as being an outlier. You give us those 3 wins back, and I'm leaving out a bunch of other examples.
Yeah, even the Cavs. The Cavs game was a big one too.
Both the Wizards game.
The Bulls game.
Think about the Wizards game in Washington, double overtime. In regulation at halftime, Harrell hits a half-court shot. So there you go.
Yeah. So just take 3 of those. Give me 3 of those wins back, and we're second in the East. Like, and we have like 7 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so and that's with missing Jaylen for like 2 weeks. So actually 3. So, I'm not really. It looks a lot worse on paper than it really is. So, do I want to give up Schroder, who's playing great? Losing him for nothing is not really going to hurt this team because we were never going to replace him with somebody who makes significantly more. And and anybody making around 5 mil is going to be a younger player anyway. And I would say we have too many of those right now that we know what to do with. So I would rather just keep him and try to do something nice in the playoffs this year. If we even, like, let's say by some miracle we make it to the finals but don't win the championship. We made it to the finals. That's something that you could tell to the Jays and be like, hey, this isn't working. We just need to tweak this. Maybe you don't keep Schroder, but you get a player kind of like him in free agency or the draft. Like, so I would just, push. And that's, again, goes back to why Nesmith and Pritchard are not playing, because the goal is to win games this year. If we can develop them as much as we can, we'll do that. But I'm not trying to, put their development over winning games this year.
Yeah, that's fair. Sam knows I'm a big devil's advocate guy, so I'm gonna come back at your argument real quick just for the sake of it. My thing is, and again, Sam will back this up. I'm a big stats analytics that's how I think. No, I'm not bringing up stats here. I'm just saying I think very front office-ish. And so the way I just see the Schroder thing is, if you have the opportunity to net gain off something and you don't take it, that's kind of where I'm iffy on it. And I did, obviously, I looked at the books. I looked at a few guys you could get. And I think not only could you get these guys in return for Schroder, I think more importantly, you get a pick back. And I know Sam, you're going to say picks don't matter anymore. They're contending.
I don't know if you want picks.
But you could flip the pick in another trade, in my opinion. It'll give you more assets.
I'm just curious who
away.
You can get back, because maybe we'll be intrigued.
The Clippers and the Timberwolves, who are two. I'm just looking at the 4 teams I brought up. I don't see anybody on the roster making around that money that the Celtics would want, outside of Justice Winslow, and I'm not. Anyways, the Nuggets, if they're willing to trade, I think you get a pick and a second or something like that, and the Austin Rivers or Jeff Green, and none of these guys are going to give you a ton of value back, but I think both of those guys could come in. Like Jeffrey, and you saw what he did with the Nets last year. He was solid. When Jokic was out, he averaged 20. And again, I'm a homer. I love Jeff Green in the Celtics. He was a beast. I thought he was sick. And Austin Rivers, he'll just be another defensive guy off the bench. And then on the Mavericks, you're talking Dorian Finney-Smith, who again, it's not great, but if you can get a pick back, you lose half a season of Schroder. Again, like you said, though, if you think you can make that deep run, keeping Schroder makes all the sense in the world. Those are the guys I found that I think make sense. And I think Denver is going to, be looking to do something, because I don't think they want to waste a season of Jokic, and they're down horrendous.
Counterpoint on Denver, though, they are going to get Jamal Murray back at some point. But I will say this, to your point, I wouldn't be opposed to getting Austin. I've always loved Austin Rivers. I wouldn't be opposed to getting him or Jeff Green. I think Jeff Green has killed us in the playoffs twice in the last 4 years. But then you put yourself at risk of the curse of Jeff Green, where it's you hate to play against him, but also hate when he's on your team, because then you have to rely on him. So it's you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
That's a good point. I don't know, like I said, I see both sides.
For sure. We can move on to the next thing I have on my little laundry list here. It's about Jaylen Brown, and I want to phrase this very carefully, because I wrote an article for CelticsBlog recently that got me a lot of hate on Twitter. I don't dislike Jaylen Brown. That's not at all what I'm saying when I'm saying this. But you look at the games the Celtics offense has played well, and very few of them have Jaylen Brown in there. And again, I like Jaylen Brown. I think they're obviously you don't trade Jaylen Brown. I think that's foolish. But I'm just looking at the games, like Lakers game, one of their best offensive performance of the season, right? Thunder game, again. Blazers, 146. Utah dropped 130. You know what I'm saying?
These are some juggernauts besides Utah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm saying Utah, 130 against Utah. I'm just saying, what do you think that deal is? Because I have my own theory, and it's not the fact that I dislike Jaylen Brown, and I'm going to keep saying that because I love Jaylen Brown. And I think I'll just spoil it here. I think he needs to get used to the new offense, because when he did go down, earlier in the season, they're playing Jason and Jaylen. That's your offense. When he went down, they had to adjust to, okay, we're going to play team basketball. We're going to pass more. We're going to find those, right passes. You had Marcus Smart come out, all these things. And he was hurt, and they adjusted. And I think he needs time to adjust into this kind of new offense that they're running. Because you'll see, obviously Tatum has adjusted and improved as a passer because he's had to. I think if you see Jaylen Brown make a couple of those progressions as a passer, this Celtics offense is going to be elite, because then you're going to have two guys that can handle the ball. When Tatum is handling the ball, you'll have Brown off the ball shooting and cutting and do all the things he does great. But I just think that he needs time to adjust to the new style of offense they have been playing. And again, I love Jaylen Brown. This is I'm just there. What are your thoughts on that whole spiel I just gave?
I think you're. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think. I think your analysis. No offense. I think your analysis is missing some context, because when Jaylen Brown was playing, the entire offense looked like garbage. Then Jaylen Brown gets hurt. Offense starts to pick up. Right now we're 13th in offensive rating, and then the only games that he's played.
It's up to 13th already. We're up to 13th already. That's crazy.
So.
Anyway, sorry. Continue.
So while he's out, the offense starts to improve, And then when he comes back, he's playing on one leg. So
Yeah.
And then he leaves, and then we play, some juggernauts like the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then, I just think that it's too many things. And of course, that sounds convenient to my argument, and I totally understand that. But I do think that there's like very clear, and it's like I said with the Marcus Smart thing, like there's just very clear tick marks in the season so far, where garbage team on offense and defense. Garbage team on offense, pretty good on defense. And then now we're like middle of the pack in both. Like we've taken a step back defensively, but we've taken a step forward offensively. So I think we're just middle of the pack right now. And I can tell you right now that we have the 13th best offensive rating in the league and 11th best defensive rating in the league. And our net rating is 9th overall in the league. So, so that's my theory as far as with respect to Jaylen Brown, is just that he hasn't been around much while we haven't been a garbage offensive team. So that's my only counter to your argument, because it's just like, maybe if let's hopefully he's back by the LA games, because I'm gonna go see them in LA for the Clippers game. So hopefully he's back, and we just get a good stretch of like. Look, I don't know if 2 weeks is too much to ask for, but 2 weeks of the team being healthy against good competition, and I feel like that's when we could start to make assumptions or conclusions about what this team's identity is offensively and defensively. I just think that too many things have been out of place at these critical evaluation moments. So,
yeah. Sam, what do you think?
Well, I came in on Jack's side, but I've been convinced. I was the one that kind of pitched the thing, whereas it's kind of weird that like they're playing so well and he's not in the lineup.
Let me intro it and get slewed. I see how we're working.
Jack was thrown under the bus, but I mean that makes a lot of sense. Like they've probably technically figured out some things. Like in my head, I was like, maybe that's like the cog that's screwing everything up when he comes back in and they had it all figured out. Then they got to make all these adjustments and they can't figure it out again. But, I mean, he was definitely playing hurt. He did not look healthy at all. Did he play against Philly? Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah,
because he defended it beating the post.
Yes.
But he looked really bad. Like, he was limping on the court.
You could see he was wincing. Like, he's not having a good time out there. But, I think that's been cleared up a bit. I get emotional, I get my vision blurred every once in a while. Not that I was, like, upset or anything. I was just like, this is weird that, like, he's out of the lineup and then they start playing well.
Yeah, I think I don't think that we have a lot of evidence that they can play together and thrive together. Like the 2020 playoffs in the bubble, they were both playing really well. And that's without like really having high usage Kemba. So which is kind of like a similar makeup to this team. And even the beginning of that season, or the beginning of last season. Without Kemba, right? Like we saw that they can play well together. It's just that they were relying on Shemi Ojale and Jeff Teague, which is why they weren't.
Jeff Teague, what a mess that was. Then
we don't want to talk about it. So, I just think that, and we can't forget either that he's been practicing with the team. Like he's just not suiting up in game action. So I think once we, if we can beat the Lakers and beat the Clippers back to back, I think that would be a good sign of like. Okay, we can really start to go on a run now. Like this team is due for a run for the talent that we have and all of the like close losses that we've experienced in the last month. Like I really feel like we're like on our way to a 7-game win streak at some point in the month of December, which would be a really big statement considering the schedule.
Huge. Oh yeah,
so
100%. And I'm not trying to be talk radio, Gasper saying they need to trade Smart. That's not where I'm coming from.
That was outrageous.
Yeah, I get you. It's. I understand why you would get to that conclusion. I just think that this season's been so weird that I want to see what we have together at some point. And I know that there have been some seasons where I've said that and we've never gotten together, like last year when people just did not get healthy at any point, which sucks. But how many years can we do that in a row? This is not a challenge.
You got to get rid of the trainers. These guys need to be held accountable.
They really do. Hey, but the COVID absences from last year, that's on the players. I don't know what
the COVID is what it is. But when guys are getting these nagging injuries,
hey,
some of them
happy
are freak
birthday,
injuries.
Tristan Thompson. That's all I'll say. I mean, dude had to throw a bash, and you see what he's up to now. So have fun in Sac
He's
Town.
thriving out there.
He's doing more than thriving.
I'm so happy that didn't work out because I really thought he was
me too.
I was happy when we signed him.
I think everybody was like. I remember Jack and I were talking like, Teague, Thompson, like good veteran signings to bring off the bench.
I didn't mind Teague, except after the
until he started playing
season opener. Yeah,
once he started playing, it was no good.
Yeah. Look, the Teague hype never fooled me. I was anti-Teague day one, and then I walked it back a little bit after opening night, and then I went right back on my usual agenda after that. But my thing is, if Daniel Tice had been traded earlier, I think. Or if we didn't go into the season with Tice, then I think things would have worked out better from a win-loss perspective that year. Because I feel like we lost so many just by having to stick to
the double bigs.
Yeah. And not even the fact that it was the starting lineup, but just that we had to play that lineup so many minutes to conceivably give them enough minutes. Like starting doesn't really matter that much. It's just the fact that we kept getting obviously slow starts, and then to get back into games, we still had to play them together. So it just, a lot of logistics issues. That's on Danny more than Brad, for sure. Or really anybody else,
for sure. The last thing I want to bring up before we're pressing against the hour mark here, Sam has a group of questions he usually asks our guests for the first time. But before that, I mentioned this before we started recording. Andrew, I know you saw this. Sam, I know you didn't. Bleacher Report put out a Celtics trade today, and I'm going to preface it by you won't like it, Sam. You're not. Okay. I just want your reaction.
Very rarely do I like things that Bleacher Report puts out regarding the Celtics, because people just don't know what they're talking about outside of the locals. I just don't feel like it makes a lot of sense.
It's a Raptors trade. It's a Raptors trade. Celtics get Pascal Siakam, Goran Dragic. Celtics give up Marcus Smart, Al Horford, Romeo Langford. Sam, just hit me with it.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. Siakam hasn't been really great. He makes significantly more money. What does he make? 30 plus, which
37.
Oh, no,
37.
Like very few.
I'm pretty sure it's
37. 35.
I'll check. I can check here, but
no. Like I think that's a negative asset at that point.
It's 33.6, 31.3 this year, 33.6 next year, and then 36 the year after that. 37 is like the at the end of his contract.
So you're going to trade three players that have probably overachieved for you this season by the national viewpoint. Maybe not, I told you Horford would be good. I told you Smart would be good. Romeo is someone I was high on in the playoffs. Took a bit of a dip after the summer league where he kind of floundered, like didn't do anything special. And then after the preseason, I was back on the train. And you're going to bring in Siakam, who really hasn't done anything in years.
And Goran Dragic, who's shooting 18% from three. Don't forget about Goran Dragic.
Yeah, like
it's something like that. I'm exaggerating. But
do they think like it's great to get off the Horford contract or something that's going to be less money next year?
Maybe.
Okay, this might surprise you, but I didn't think that would be the worst idea in the world, even as a Smart fan. However, I would not do it personally, because I think that addresses a problem but creates a couple more problems. You don't have a long-term point guard solution. Then you have three overpaid players. You have
close to max.
Yeah, you have three players that are close, pretty much in the max contract range, and very little. I don't know. The books would look a little muddy there, and then you're putting yourself in a corner. I think.
Isn't Siakam kind of old? He's like older than you would think, right?
Like 27, I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he's older than you would think, from like the amount of time he's been a name in the league. Like he's older than you would think.
Yeah.
But when I mentioned earlier that point guard is not the thing that the team needs to get over the hump, for me it's a big wing who can kind of play interchangeably with the Jays, like Gordon Hayward. Like, honestly, if Gordon Hayward didn't get hurt in the bubble, we are the Disney champions. They'd be calling us the Disney champions. Like, I guarantee you, we probably would have taken care of the Raptors in 5 games. Maybe would have swept them. We look like we was about to sweep them without Hayward if it wasn't for OG. And then Miami doesn't get the jump on us. I think, and then of course, I don't think the Lakers would have beat us even with Horford or Hayward banged up. I think we would have beaten them. But having a big wing adds so much to the dynamic of this team, and with the Jays, especially one that can pass. And I think that's part of why Fournier's impact wasn't felt much, because he's not big. He's a good wing. He could shoot, but he doesn't add all the dynamics that somebody like Hayward, who is a couple inches taller and much better passer, could add to the offense. So for that reason, that's why I stopped and thought about it. Like, Siakam could fill that role, but the things that Siakam are good at, don't really jive with what the archetype of what the Celtics need from that hypothetical player. If that makes sense. So I wouldn't want to pay him $36 million in one calendar year to be a guy that would probably have some fit issues, when we already can see that Smart and the Jays can do well. And if you just add one piece that's paid significantly less, then maybe you're cooking with something that's probably more potent as a product.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Plus, he'd be like your third option.
Yeah.
Making that much money.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Hey, but he can do spin moves.
He can do a ton of spin.
He can do spin moves.
Sold.
And he doesn't get dizzy. He can just keep going.
Wow.
He can do the baseball bat thing for 10 hours.
Yeah. I mean,
elite.
that's
great
fun if you ask me.
Throw that at the combine. But yeah, Sam, if you want to, ask your questions, Andrew, Sam always has this. I'll let him explain it. So
every time we have a new guest, I kind of run through some fandom questions, about your experience as a fan, things like that. It's been a while, man. I kind of forget, but I know. I think the first one is just what's your favorite piece of Celtics memorabilia that you have? It could be ticket stubs, autographs, really anything, pictures, whatever.
When I was in 10th grade, my sister knitted me a Boston Celtics sign or something like that. I don't even know where it is right now. Sorry, Heidi, if you're listening to this. She's probably listening.
No.
I don't know where it is, but that was really cool to me because when I was a kid in high school, I was the Celtics guy, always tweeting about it. I tweeted way too much about it, and everybody in school would complain and everything. My parents were like, "You watch too much basketball and stuff." But then that was the first time that a member of my family was like, "It's cool that you like this and that you're passionate about this." So that was that was cool. So I would say that it literally just says Boston Celtics on it's a felt. She felt meeting or something like that, and she put it together for me. So that was cool.
That's nice. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. I mean, the story behind it's always the best part about any of the, memorabilia we get. Okay, so next would be, what's your favorite moment that you've seen in person, game that you've been to that you've got to see happen live?
Game 5 of the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals. I walked out of that building thinking that we were going to go to the NBA Finals without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. I was feeling good. I did not know at the time that I was in attendance for the last win of the season. But at that moment, I felt good. And I don't know if you guys know this. I live in Florida, actually. So I flew up the morning of the game and then flew back a couple hours after I got back from the game. So it was a 24-hour trip. Literally, it was there and back.
Oh, man.
And it was wild, and it was a lot of fun. And, they broke my heart after that. Game 7 was just right there.
Well, that was one of those games. It's just there for the taking, too. It reminds me, oh, man, we had so many of these games so far this season just because the offense has been so bad. But that was a game you could have easily won. If you just played at the clip you played the whole series, you would have won.
Yeah, if Terry Rozier and Jaylen Brown didn't combine to go 0 for 19 from 3 like that, bro, if we just shoot even if we make 2 more, where it was a 10-point game at the end of the game because they in the last minute the Cavs started hitting garbage buckets and free throws. But with a minute left, it's right there. and just 1-3. I think Terry missed one that could have, if it went down, is good. Or if Tatum got the ball back after dunking on LeBron, like it's right there.
When he hit the three after he dunked on him.
The Jays so much differently if they make it to the finals that season. Like so many different conversations. But sorry, what were you saying?
If he gets, I mean, after he hit the three after the dunk, I thought the game was over. I remember thinking that, and like looking at my dad, I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna win.
Yeah, that was tough.
Pain.
We've been down the pain memory lane today. We talked about 2020, the bubble, which I'm with you. I think that's a team that really could have won. And my like coulda, woulda, shoulda is if Horford never left, I think they would have won.
Yeah,
because I think they would have handled Bam, and I think Horford would have killed Davis in the final, or at least controlled him. Yeah. But that's my coulda, woulda, shoulda. But I don't even think of the Hayward injury that really hurt them too.
Yeah. I mean, so because they played it off good. We demolished Philly without him. Marcus Smart went crazy against the Raptors. Didn't need him. Even Jaylen was a little off against the Raptors. And just Miami, they hit us in the mouth in the first game. Like game one, if we win that game in overtime, like even with like an injured Hayward or whatever, a lot of couldas with this core, but I don't know. You never know when it's going to be your year until it is. So maybe it's this year. Plenty of teams have started slow, and still made a run in the second half. So
who knows? So what's your favorite overall memory? Not a championship, like just a moment. A lot of people will say the Marcus Smart double charges, which might be yours because you're a big Smart guy. What's another? Like people love the Isaiah Thomas game in the playoffs.
Olynyk Wizards game. That's
Kelly Olynyk. Do you have a favorite?
Any moment.
Man, you kind of went through some of my favorites. Like the double charge one is like the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Iconic.
We had 26. Honestly, like I'm gonna sound like a simp, but game 3 against the Nets, which is very recent, because that was the first playoff win with my wife. And both of us, we were just so hyped, like jumping in our living room. We were just like laughing and everything. Like I'm like chest bumping my wife and everything. Like that was like one of the funniest things that's ever happened. And we won the game. And in that moment, I'm like, yo, we could really do this, even without Jaylen. Like we could do this. So actually, it's funny. Literally that same night, we booked flights to go to Boston. And we were at game 4. And
oh boy. That's no fun.
I know, but no one will ever take away the first quarter of game 4 because we came out firing that game. And I'm in the TD Garden like half asleep because of all the travel that we had done. And I'm thinking like, yo, are we really doing this? And then the rest of the game happened. But at least we had those 5 quarters where I feel like we were on top of the world. So I know it's like super recent. It doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. But it was cool. And I'm like, look, Marcus Smart's our point guard. He's doing it. Like he can do this.
There you go.
He had a terrific game 3.
He had a terrific series. I think he only had one
bad
game.
Yes.
Yeah. It was great. So before you continue, Sam, how did you become a Celtics fan? Like, did you grow up in the area, or are you just from Florida and you just like the Celtics? Like,
my mom's side of the family's from Massachusetts. So when their 2010 Eastern Conference Finals is Celtics Magic. Game 3 actually was the first game I tuned in. I don't know. I was just trying to watch basketball. I wasn't like a huge basketball person, but I tuned into that game. Saw Rondo dive for the ball, and that's what really kind of sealed it for me. Even though like Orlando's obviously would have been like the home team or whatever, but I was still rooting for the Celtics after seeing that, and my mom's family and whatever. So from then it just kind of became a thing. I was like still a casual watcher until like the next season. I was still watching them, but like not as hardcore. But when Pierce hit that game winner against the Knicks in 2010, Nate Robinson jumped on him. That's when I was like, all right, I'm gonna record every single Celtics game that come my way on DVR, and that's just kind of what led to this. So
there you go.
How long did it take for you to invest in League Pass? Or do you just the next season?
Okay. Actually, no. I think 2013, like the first Brad Stevens year, I think was the first year that I paid for League Pass with my own money.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was doing like illegal streams up until then because I was a broke like high schooler. So
you got to do what you got to do. I mean,
I get it. But ever since then, I've been paying for League Pass for like the last 10 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I really fell in love with it like that first Brad Stevens year. Like that's when I really started watching every single game. For me, it was in the playoffs when isn't that so funny? Like I was still like a casual watcher. Like I'd watch games and stuff, but like I really got hooked on it on that season. I don't know. I thought it was cool. But the thing that really made me love it was like when they almost came back against the Knicks in the playoffs the year before and get Game 6. I thought that was like the greatest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah, I'd go back and watch the YouTube clip of that run like many times. Like just feeling the Garden atmosphere, just even through the recorded video is just, man, that's special. If we would have came back and won that game, I would have been inconsolable on Twitter. Like they would have had to ban me or something. I don't know. Like
that's awesome. Yeah, for me it was around the Jeff Green era as well because my dad was a big baseball guy, so I grew up watching the Red Sox more than the Celtics, and then I don't know why I started watching the Celtics more, but like Jeff Green, like Bradley, those teams, I couldn't tell you why. Brandon Bass, totally random, like
Jordan Crawford.
Oh yeah,
Jordan Crawford had some really big games.
That whole era was what got me in for some reason. I just missed out on all the fun. But yeah, Sam. Sorry, Sam. You can go on your next.
Well, actually, this is when I toss it to you, Jersey man.
Oh yeah, so I'm a huge Jersey guy. Or I was. I don't buy them as much anymore. They're all from.
You've retired, Jack. I did not know this was.
It's too much of a commitment, and none of them are real. I'll preface that. Like I'm still broke. I'm not. I don't have the money, the facilities, to dip into that pool. So they're not real. But I stopped at the trade deadline last year. But for like the last year of Rozier in Boston, that team, the next team, and then the first half of last year, I had every player. So like I'm talking, I have a Poirier jersey, I have a Teague jersey, I have it was an obsession. So my question to you, I also have a jersey for every NBA team. Like I have somebody for every team. I have a lot of jerseys.
Do you have a walk-in closet?
Do I have a what?
Do you have a walk-in closet?
No, but my whole closet is just jerseys. Like I have nothing in there except for jerseys. It was like while I was in college, I just liked it. Like it was my collection. I didn't really spend money on anything else. So I just buy myself jerseys from like DH Gate or AliExpress or whatever those sites are. So that was my thing. So I have a lot now. But my question to you is, do you have a favorite? So it's usually Celtics jersey, but if you have other jerseys, like what's your favorite jersey that you own?
I'm really not a big jersey guy. I have 3. I have a Rondo jersey that a friend in high school gifted me. I went to high school with like a bunch of like rich white kids, and they like I was friends with a lot of them, and they they all knew me again as a Celtics guy. So one of them, she was really nice, and she got me a Celtics jersey of Rondo. And then I have a Tatum one that my wife has it's the black alternate that we have. And we both have that one, and then I got a Smart jersey. So between those 3, I would still probably say the Rondo jersey, just because like that's what got me here. So I guess that that OG love of Rondo. I hate what he's become now, but at the time it was like the coolest thing I could possibly own. So I literally, it's been my intention to frame it for the last 7 years. Still have not framed it. Don't know. It's somewhere in my closet. I'm probably gonna frame that one, and I'm probably the Smart one eventually too. I want to wear the Smart one a little bit before I frame it, but the Tatum one, I'm always wear that one because it's just, I don't know. I love the black alternates. I know that's not the most popular thing, but if you look
I'm fine with those. As a jersey snob, they're okay. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like they're very they're very classy, right? It's very straight. It's nothing crazy. Doesn't depart too much from the spirit of the Celtics and green or whatever, but it's like a modern touch. So it goes with a lot of my clothing because I wear a lot of black, as I'm wearing right now. So I don't know. That's why I'll probably never frame the Tatum one because I'll be too busy wearing it. But and I got the Rondo and the Smart ones are the away greens. So. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I have like a fraction of the ones that you do, Jay.
Oh yeah, it was.
So does
everyone.
It's
a bit an obsession. Yeah, all right. It was a bit of an obsession. I'll admit, but
Jack
cooled
had
off.
I believe I had a Jeff Teague jersey at my house from you, Jack, because it was actually
because I accidentally ordered it to your house. I do have a Jeff Teague jersey though. It is upstairs. I have everybody from those teams. I have a Thompson jersey. I have a Poirier jersey. I have a Dice jersey. I have a Cantor jersey or Freedom now, but I don't have Freedom.
Well, no, you don't have the Freedom one. You need to get it updated.
No,
I'm sorry. I didn't listen to
say
a
that.
single thing you said after the fact that you have a Jeff Teague jersey. I can't be on this podcast any longer. You and I just don't see eye to eye with important issues.
I'll burn it. We'll just get rid of that one. But if I'm correct, if I'm correct, Sam, that's all the questions.
That's it. Yeah. We've taken enough of your time.
Yeah, we can start to wrap up here. But yeah, thank you so much for jumping on with us. Make sure to follow Andrew on Twitter at Andrew Doxy. I'll start the plug there. But anything you want to say before we let you go here, Andrew?
If you're coming just to annoy me about Marcus Smart, just don't follow me. But if you would like to have intellectual discourse and laugh at my jokes, then yes, come follow me. And also, you can always catch my writing on CelticsBlog.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I had a lot of fun.
There you go. Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. You guys can follow me at JacksonMoneyNBA. You can follow us at Bannertown USA on Twitter. And Sam, per usual, I'll let you wrap it up.
Yeah, make sure you follow Andrew. We really appreciate him coming on. Check out his work on CelticsBlog and be nice to him on Twitter. You can follow Jack at JackSimoneNBA. You can follow Bannertown at Bannertown USA. And you can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's our show for today. Bye.